Welcome back to the Rising Podcast, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that some of us can resonate with, people pleasing. Are you guilty of it? Do you say yes when you really want to say no?
Guilty.
Guilty.
I'm less guilty than I used to be. I'm sure that just comes with age, but please tell me how to stop.
You have to work at this on a daily basis. You basically have to choose you. And this is the struggle, I think, for many of us, is that we want to not come across as selfish, and we want to help others, or we want to say yes to something, but we have to fight our instincts to quickly help or say yes to an event or whatever it is. We really have to take a pause and think, can I do this right now? Do I have the energy for this? Will it be something that fills me up? So I think we have to ask ourselves those questions.
What do you think is the root of people pleasing in general?
I believe we inherently want to avoid conflict and we want to seek approval. So this is ingrained in us at an early age. We talk about societal expectations, and you're expected to say yes or else. And that's threatening, right? I mean, how does that sound? It sounds scary. So you almost get cornered to forget about yourself and say yes to what is being presented in front of you without even thinking about it, without batting an eye. And that becomes part of our automatic programming. So it's very hard to become aware and get out of that. Very hard.
What are some red flags or indicators that you might be a people pleaser?
You respond too quickly without even taking that pause, as we were talking about. So a person that is really protective of their time and their boundaries and their energy, they will say something like, let me think about it. So they won't give that person an immediate response. So they need to think about it. And that's always a good line to tell somebody.
I wish I was better at that.
Let me get back to you. Let me think about it. And we don't do it. The people like myself, because I was guilty of this for so many years, I automatically gave someone a response within seconds. And then I regretted it later because I said, wait a minute, I didn't even look at my calendar that closely. I just booked something that is now going to take up way more time, or I signed up for a committee that will require more of me than I'm capable of at the moment because my plate is full. So we have to be careful because people know those people that say yes to everything. And I feel like they prey on them. And you kind of become the person everyone goes to for certain things. And that's not always a good thing.
Well, people treat you the way that you allow them to treat you.
100%.
And when you become the person that keeps saying yes to everything when you don't want to because you want to avoid conflict, what I've seen happen a lot, and maybe this is an age thing, but a lot of situations I've been in, it's like people want to avoid conflict so they don't speak up for themselves. Mm-hmm. So then they end up ghosting whoever it is that they're talking to because they still need to avoid conflict. So now we're avoiding conflict initially, and then we're avoiding conflict altogether. And it ends up in broken relationships, broken marriages, broken businesses. And it's something that if you don't take seriously, like you said already, you'll be run down. But I don't think you realize how empty you'll feel.
You're going to have emotional depletion. And that's where people pleasers can go, as you were saying, from one extreme to another. So there's no middle ground sometimes with people pleasers. So when they're feeling it, they say yes, they're all in. But then the minute they feel like they're being taken advantage of or too much is being asked of them, they will do the opposite. They will go extremist and ghost and basically decide this isn't for me anymore. And then that doesn't sit well with people either.
Well, so how do you, if you're a self-identified people pleaser, how do you break the habits? Because I think it can be really hard, speaking as a recovering people pleaser. It can be really challenging so you've built all these expectations, and then when you don't go through with those expectations moving forward, everyone feels let down. So how do you kind of balance that guilt of, no, wait, but I know this is what's best for myself versus, oh, you're right, I did say I would do that, or maybe not a commitment necessarily, but just the pattern of it, breaking that pattern. How do you deal with those conversations and the result of those conversations?
I think you have to become really comfortable with yourself and standing your ground on, I am doing this as a way to protect myself and my energy. And I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with people viewing me a particular way if I say no to something.
That's so good.
And that took a long time, though. That took a very long time because I felt so much guilt that I couldn't do everything or be everything for everybody. And there was a day I woke up and I was like, well, that's not my concern. My concern is me and my family, what's in these four walls. And if that works for us, that works for us. I can't be concerned with everybody else and how they feel about me declining certain things or choosing not to volunteer in this particular committee or doing that.
At the end of the day, everyone else is going to do what's best for them too.
100%.
So why not join that club?
Well, what I was finding out was there are a lot of people that aren't people pleasers. And I was trying to study them and going, well, how are you so firm in your stance on this? And they really had this kind of, I don't care about anybody else but myself attitude in a way, which was, it is another extreme, right, form of thinking. But I also think it's healthy in a way to say, I'm choosing me and I'm not going to sign up for something that doesn't make me feel good, or I know that is going to deplete me emotionally, exhaust me. And because then I won't be fully present in the experience. You're going to get like 0.25% of me. I won't be all in that experience.
And that's not fair to you. It's not fair to your family. It's
Absolutely
not fair to the people who are also pouring into you when you just turn around and take that and pour it out to everyone else. You know, there is a responsibility that we have to acknowledge. When you become a wife, when you become a mother, when you become a business partner, when you become a new friend. And I think when we put the needs of people that are on the bottom of the totem pole before our friends, before our family, and especially before ourselves, none of it ends well.
It doesn't, because you're exhausted emotionally, physically, and mentally. It's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve anybody.
I'm actually really proud of myself. I just had a conversation with a couple of my clients. I was in a group text and I said something that in the past I hadn't kept a boundary up before, which, you know, it's simple things like scheduling changes and different things like that. And I just said, no, sorry, like we can't do that. We can't accommodate that. And one of the clients like freaked out on me, freaked out. And at first, my instinct, because this is what I had done before, was to call them and be like, can you back me up on this? Or am I out of line? Or like, what do you think about this? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I know what I think. I don't want to do this. This goes against all the alerts going off in my head are saying this won't end well if I say yes to this. No, just say no. And I just said, my final answer is no. I had to ask myself, my therapist helped me, we've talked about it before, what is the worst possible outcome and can I survive it? The worst possible outcome is that this person gets really upset and we still end up doing what's best for the overall group here. And that's it. I can survive that. I can survive him being mad at me for an hour and he'll cool down in an hour and everything will be fine. I can survive that. Worst case scenario, they fire us. I can survive that too. No big deal. You know, so there's pep talks, I think, an internal dialogue that can really support the fear of the worst case scenario. And you've helped me a lot with that too, of just like, okay, if it's not this, what is it? And let's think through that. And I think that the more people practice this, there is an instant sense of gratification. There's a little bit of fear and anxiety that could be attached to, well, what if they're mad at me? Or what if now this fails and they blame me? Okay, well, let them blame you. It's like Mel Robbins in her new book.
Exactly. Well, I love that book. I read it and that empowered me so much. But I love that you had that level of awareness. Like,
well,
okay.
A lot of therapy got me to that point.
But you're aware now if something like that pops up and it sounded like you took a pause or you're like, no, that's not going to work. I already know and I'm going to stand by that. And I love that you played out worst case scenarios. Worst case scenarios are oftentimes not even the worst. It's we're thinking about it as that. But in reality, a lot of people can live with our no because there's going to be another opportunity, or like they love us anyway. It's not as bad as we think it's going to be.
I think we have so much anxiety around things that aren't even happening.
100%. We create these imaginary scenarios, or we assume so much about people that isn't even true. So it is like, let them think what they want to think, because at the end of the day, it's like everybody is doing what is best for them anyway. We should too. And it'll all work out. Really will.
What's the balance between being healthy and focusing on yourself versus just being selfish?
Oh, that's tough. Because I'm still working on this. There are times where I sometimes just want to focus just on myself and my family and their needs. But I also have to realize that's not healthy either, in the sense of like, I need to be, in the world and participating and doing things for others and like participating with others. And it's not necessarily going to deplete me every time. And I have to just, be okay with stretching myself a little bit with my schedule, even though I have a hard time with that, because I'm very protective of my rest and I'm very protective of my recovery time. So I don't pad things back to back. I like to have enough time to recuperate from something that I did, whether it be an event, whether it be work related, whether it be a meeting. So I don't go into things, on a continuous cycle. So I tend to go through sometimes extreme bouts of rest, and then I'm like, go, go, go. And I say yes to everything. And then I crash and burn. So it is finding that balance in whatever way you can find it for yourself. So I want to give you 5 strategies to stop being a people pleaser. So number 1, take a pause. So when you get asked the question, do you want to do this? Do you want to volunteer here? Do you have time for this? I want you to take a 5-second pause and really think about it. And if you don't have an answer at that moment, your response will be, I'll get back to you. Number 2, set healthy boundaries with people. So don't be readily available to everyone and everything. You have your life, you have your things. So don't be at everybody's disposal, or they're going to get used to that.
You mean I don't have to answer the phone every time someone calls?
The funny thing is, I have my phone on do not disturb on purpose for half the day because, and people know this by now, because I can't be interrupted in certain windows because I'm working or I'm focused on something else. So that's my boundary, and people know. Oh, her phone's on do not disturb because she literally does not want to be disturbed right now. And people have become okay with it. So you can do that for yourself as well. And number 3, really prioritize your needs. Make sure that you're putting yourself first, filling your cup first before you go out into the world and decide, okay, I am going to now help you and care for you or volunteer for this or do that.
And I think a way to do that too is like, what are 3 things that bring me joy? I'm going to put them on my calendar. I'm going to stop thinking about them and I'm going to do it. Whether it's going to the gym, maybe it's going to get a massage, maybe it's just being alone for 2 hours. Block that out on your calendar. Your calendar reflects what you care about.
Absolutely.
And if your calendar is full of everyone else's appointments and stuff, make room for yourself.
Yeah. And number 4, I think it's, be okay with saying no. Like, just own it. It's not that bad. People will be okay. And you will also. So stand firm with that. Be okay with basically letting go and of what you think people might think of you. I mean, that really goes into number 5, which is like, let them think what they think. I mean, really let go of this feeling of guilt and as if it's not going to work out or someone's going to be upset at me. You really have to let that go.
As a recovering people pleaser, I was able to identify that I was carrying the weight of my husband's anxiety or my client's anxiety, when really that's not my responsibility. I have empathy for them and what they're going through. But if I say something that is a boundary and it's a healthy boundary and my intention is pure and it sends them in a spiral, it's not my responsibility to fix it. it's their responsibility to fix it.
Absolutely.
They have to learn to self-soothe. Even with my kid, I've had to work on that.
Yeah.
I'll discipline her and it will really hurt her, and not just running over to hold her and cuddle her, like giving her 2 or 3 minutes to self-soothe, realize she's fine, and then go and reaffirm the love and all the, feelings I have for her. But there's like a double fold there of learning to, yes, everything will be okay, but when it's not okay, it's okay too.
Exactly. I think in the end, it comes down to self-compassion, being gentle on yourself, and being okay with protecting your energy and saying no to things that don't feel good, that you know are going to deplete you. Because I think in the end, you're going to feel better. You're going to say yes to things that feel good in the future. And this will all help your relationships long term. You don't want to get in a position where you're disappointing all the time, or you feel like you're disappointing all the time. So you really want to come from a place where I feel good, I'm energized, and I can say yes to that thing. And it doesn't feel misaligned. It feels good, and I want to do it. And I want to be present with this particular thing in front of me. And you want to come from that place when you say yes. You want to feel energized and like, I can do this, and I feel good about it. And I'm not people pleasing. I'm doing this because I genuinely want to do it. Thank you for joining me. I hope you take one of these strategies and implement it in the week ahead in breaking the people pleasing cycle. Shoot me a DM and let me know how it goes this week. I hope you say no to something and choose you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next week.